Again, just a quick intro to everyone joining me live, to everyone click on this video. This is my immediate thoughts after watching the first episode of the fourth and final season of Succession, what I consider to be one of the best written shows on TV. In this episode titled The Munsters, as we see the kids beat their dad. And speaking of beating, you can't beat father time. As Logan is in reflection, he's regretting some things, he's missing his children. It's a lot to go over. And speaking of missing, will Tom and Shiv, who part ways in this episode, at least verbally, right? We still got to get the divorce paper signed, but as of right now, it looks like Tom and Shiv will no longer be married, which I think we all saw that coming since, season one, but it's still kind of hurt, but we'll get into that. But hey, again, I appreciate you all watching this video. Do me a favor, if you're enjoying the conversation, enjoying the discussion, like, share, comment, and subscribe. So first thing I want to get off my chest is just my immediate thoughts on this episode. This was fantastic. So for me personally, I'm a big fan of the show. I didn't have the opportunity to, what I did last season for season 3, I watched season 1 and 2 like back-to-back weekends where I can get all caught up. But season 3, there wasn't, between seasons 3 and 4, there wasn't a huge gap because we were off the air for like almost 3 years between those two seasons. So it was fairly still new in my head. I watched some of my previous videos to kind of get me up to speed. So I'm entrenched with the family. I'm very caught up to where we left things off with a friendly reminder with season 3 finale, which was freaking fantastic. We had the kids, and we'll talk about them when they're on the same page. I'm talking about Ken, Shiv, and Rome. When they are on the same page, when they are clicking, they get things done. They get things done. And we've gotten hints of that in previous seasons, but we see that in full fruition tonight as we see them, like I said, beating their father, which is something we have never really seen from Logan, and that is losing, right? He lost in season 1 with his heart failing on him, and he's had some health issues. But as far as the business side of Logan, the monster, the beast, the man himself, we really never seen him lose in this matter and get outbid by his own family. So I'm wondering, secretly, does he feel like kind of accomplished? Like, those were my kids that did that to me. So we'll get into that. But initial thoughts, man, I thought this was a great way to open up this season, to show the power scaling of how the kids think that they're winning, that they beat their dad. But we'll see how long that high is going to last. I did watch a trailer after the episode premiere, and it looks like we're going to get in some great stuff this season. But I love how the power has shifted. But more importantly, breaking it down to a human level. And again, taking this godlike figure in Logan Roy and having him in this episode, having a moment of reflection, a moment of regret, missing his kids. And we'll get into that when we break down the scene. He missed his kids during his birthday party. But also, I feel as though he knows his time on earth, as he talks about what happens after you die. I think he knows that his time is coming up. And that might, a bold prediction right up top. I think we might end this season with Logan dying. We'll see if that comes to fruition. But even if he doesn't die, I think he knows that he is the young man's game in this business. So I think he's going to either, officially bow out and give his legacy to one of his kids, or he's literally going to die. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But fantastic episode. Loved it top to bottom. I was on the edge of my seat. Of course, the show has some really great dark comedy moments. It has just some great characters. And it has what I think will be the new hashtag, the Disgusting Brothers. Talking about Greg and Tom, y'all. I love them, and we'll get into them here. But again, off the bat, great premiere episode. But speaking of, like I said, we established that it's Logan's birthday. And as far as timing goes, I think it's safe to say that we're probably a few months removed from the season 3 finale. It doesn't seem like there's been a huge time gap between season 3 finale and the season 4 premiere. So it's Logan's birthday. Everyone's there except his 3 kids. Connor's there, but we all know no one cares about Connor. Connor's there, and we'll talk about him a little bit later, him bleeding money. But the 3 kids aren't there. They're in LA. And again, we'll talk about as we break down the scene. It is very, very apparent that he misses his kids. He wants his kids there. Because again, I have this feeling that he knows his time is running a little bit late on this earth. But again, as we talk about his kids, again, they're in LA. And I love to see it, man. I love seeing Ken. Number one, I'm a fan of Ken, the confident version of Ken. I love what Jeremy brought to season 2 when he was like a shell of himself, but I love the confident Ken when he's, making calls. He's feeling good about himself, even though sometimes when that happens, he gets a little bit too into his feelings and he drugs, alcohol, and bad decisions. But I like this Ken, right? And Shiv, we'll talk about her, but the character I really want to put a spotlight on when we focus on the three children, Rome. Rome's come a long way. I'm always a fan of Rome. He's obviously the wild card. You never know what's going to come out of his mouth. You never know whose mouth we're not going to go there, but he's a wild card no less. But for the first time in a very long time, and maybe ever, he was about his business tonight, y'all. If you notice, he was the only one that was really focused on starting up this 100, I believe was the name of the company venture that they want to start into as they're getting the brands and they're coming up with the name. He was the only one that wasn't entirely on board with buying the Pierce company, which we'll talk about here in a second. So I'm very curious to see the progression of Roman growing up right in front of our eyes, man. He's growing up in front of our eyes, and I was very happy with that growth with him. And I would love to see the kids work together this whole season. But it was very telling that he wasn't necessarily on board with all the decisions from his older siblings in this episode. Let me know if you guys got that feeling from Rome in this episode, and let me know if you prefer this more mature, more serious about his business version of Rome, or if you just prefer the disgusting, commenting, crazy Rome. Person that's kind of, again, talking about being on the fence and someone that seems to be kind of in and out of and has a lot on their plate. We see that she's dealing with a lot in this episode. We see her, first off, she's running late, and she's coming up with all these different excuses of why she was running late. Oh, I'm making business calls, I'm making moves, just like you all should be doing this, that, and the other. But then, it comes out that, you know what, brothers, history has shown that going against dad doesn't always turn out well for the opposition. So I'm making some moves. She's making some, other business decisions, some case this doesn't work out, which again is very telling that the siblings aren't that reliant on them completely buying into defeating their dad. Really apparent in this episode that, Shiv from the previous seasons, oh, let's sleep around. Let's have an open marriage. Let's do a Will and Jada. Let's do it a little back to the party. Again, we see that Logan is clearly bothered. He's upset. There's something on his mind. Again, my whole thing is he misses his kids. It's clearly apparent that he is just a dad missing his children, right? Again, you tear down the ego, tear down the business. These are still human beings. He misses them. But speaking of missing, Greg never misses a beat for me, y'all, as he invites this young lady by the name of Bridget, if I'm not mistaken. And Bridget's not welcome to the party, y'all. She's she got this big ass purse that Tom brings up. She's taking social media pictures, and we'll talk about a picture that she takes a little bit later, which was a terrible decision. But I do want to mention Marsha. They bring up Marsha in this episode. It's kind of not a throwaway line, but it's kind of a one-liner where she says that Marsha is overseas and she's overseas shopping. She's shopping forever. Do you all think Marsha's off the table this season? Let me know in the comments if you all think Marsha will have any involvement in this season, or do you think, because this is the last season, we have obviously our main focus is the family and the kids and Logan and the Disgusting Brothers. Do you all think Marsha will be involved in the season? Comments if there's any Marsha fans out there, and if you guys want to see more of her in this final season. I think she's going to be involved some way, somehow. But Tom calls Shiv. Tom. I got something to say about Tom, because I'm very curious on his decisions in this episode from a lot of different accounts. So we see him calling his wife, Shiv, for the time being, his wife, and lets her know that, hey, honey, I'm on a little dinner date or lunch date with Naomi, which obviously we know who Naomi is. It's the ex-girlfriend, or apparently he's the ex-girlfriend now of Ken, and he's meeting with her. But the question at hand is, what's Tom's end game, ladies and gentlemen? What is Tom's moves here? Because why did he think it was a good idea to call Shiv to let her, because he's let her know that, hey, I'm meeting with Naomi, and he tells her about the Pierce acquisition. But then later in the episode, he doesn't tell Logan that he spoke to Shiv. So the question I have for everyone in the live chat and everyone watching on the replay, what is Tom's angle? What do you all think Tom is doing? Because he seems to be having one foot in with, seemingly with Shiv, and trying to, obviously we talk about what happens in this episode, but he's still trying to appease his wife by letting her in with this information. But then he's obviously still in bed with Logan. What's Tom's end game, guys? I love it. Number one, listen, I love a good stirring the tea and the drama and all that stuff, but I'm just curious on what is Tom's end game in this situation. Does he want to, please his wife? Hey, I was secretly giving you some insight. I still love you. Let's maybe try to make it work while still feeding into Logan. I'm your little bitch boy. I'm your little snitch boy. I'm doing all the dirty work. I love it. That's all I got to say. I love whatever this end game is, whatever this plan is. Will Tom and Greg, the Disgusting Brothers, end on top of this show? Will they be the last men standing? Let me know in the chat, guys. What do you all think about Mr. Tom and the moves he's making in tonight's episode, but more importantly, the moves he's making within the rest of this season? It shook Shiv. And we don't see Shiv being shook throughout this season because, again, just looking at the power scaling and the power shifting throughout these seasons, we all know who wears the pants in that relationship. It's 100% Shiv. We all know that top to bottom. Shiv's in her feelings. Tom has cracked that safe. And again, the vulnerability of these characters are being on full display in this episode, from Logan that we'll talk about, and as well as Shiv is brought up that the Pierce family is selling their company. That Nan is no longer wanting to run the business, and she wants to sell her business. And right now, who's on the bidder, who's number one, and that is Logan. So again, we're seeing these kids. Are they going to make the move or not? So what does Connor do in this episode? Let's talk about Connor. So, and we'll just kind of wrap up his plot because it wasn't a lot with Connor, but it is, something I think they're setting up for this season. So Connor, he's in the 1%. He's in the 1%, man. And listen, I don't want to make Connor seem like to undervalue him. I think there will be something important with Connor in this season because they've been setting it up. He's always the forgotten son. He's starting to lose momentum. People are starting to forget that he's running for president. So in order to get him back into the conversation, talk ain't cheap. A man has to put up $100 million just to keep his name in the conversation. Now, I don't want to make the assumption that Connor's going to end up the president of this show. I wouldn't put it past this show for them to put Connor on top. Now, the big thing that we get with Connor in this episode is obviously $100 million is nothing to sneeze at, right? But then we're noticing that he's starting to realize that's a lot of money. And more importantly, he's bleeding with this campaign. And he feels like, and then we all know, can we just be honest with each other? He is a joke. Connor is a joke, y'all. Talking to Willa, who is another character that's been kind of, I don't say forgotten about, but I think she's making money moves. I've always had my suspicions on her. And the important thing about this is we're going to get another wedding. And if you've seen the trailers, especially in tonight, there will be a wedding between these two. And we see that Connor wants the wedding to not be as big as she wants it to be. So speaking of weddings, this is the second or third wedding we've seen in the show. And if you guys have seen 4 weddings in a funeral, I'm very curious if we see this wedding take place and we know how season 1 ended, if they end this season with Connor and Willa's wedding, if it's going to end in a bad way. Because last time, again, when we had the wedding with Shiv and Tom, someone ended up dying. And again, I wonder if there's going to be any deaths with their wedding. So we'll see what's going on with Connor, but let me know any theories, predictions you all have for Connor this season. Again, he wasn't too heavily involved in this premiere episode besides his $100 million price tag to keep his name in the conversation and the whole wedding situation. Let me know if you guys see anything going on with that. And again, let me know, Miss Willa, is there anything that she has up her sleeve? While all this is going on, and this is a bold move by Tom. Again, he's making moves in this episode, y'all. He's playing his cards. He's taking note. He's taking tally on how people react to things he says. And this is a big scene here. Well, let's just say the relationship doesn't turn out well for, me and your daughter, Shiv. Classic Logan line, right? I love Logan. For good, we're good. Do we feel Tom is more concerned about his relationship with his wife, or if he's more concerned about his financial stability with being in bed with Logan? Let me know how you all feel. It's my favorite. Crack the knuckles. Let me get to the boys. The boys are back in town, y'all. You know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Disgusting Brothers. Can someone give me a t-shirt with that? I probably wouldn't wear it because I wouldn't want anyone thinking anything crazy of me, like Disgusting Brothers. Listen, I'm talking about Greg and Tom, y'all. I love them so much. As Greg is taking shots at Tom's girlfriend, Bridget, with her gigantic purse, her posting on social media, her questioning people. Boy, Greg hooks up with Bridget. And in one of the rooms, I can't remember what room it was, the kid, their banter, their back and forth. It's always a meme. It's always just top-notch comedy for me. And I just love those two. Tom tells Greg, man, you don't need to be bragging because this is Logan's house. He has cameras every which way, every room, and you just made him his own little sex tape. And we see Greg is fearful of this. He wants to talk to Logan, which he does a little bit later. When they are used, they do not disappoint. So again, the Discussing Brothers never fail to disappoint. But speaking of disappointments, y'all, it's perfect transition into Logan. At this point in the episode, he's kind of fed up with this party without his family, his best buddy, as we know, Colin, but he's having a heart-to-heart with him. And I thought it was just really, really interesting to have this conversation with Colin because he talks about, first off, his viewpoint on people, how he looks at people as just numbers and digits and looks at people as a market. But more importantly, he's talking about life. If you really listen to what he's talking about life and where he's come to this point of his life that he doesn't see people as like normal people. Good relationship with his family, obviously, right? And he's talking about life after death and all this stuff. And I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, wow, we are watching Logan, the great Logan, just fall apart in front of us because after all these business deals, after the billions of dollars he's accumulated, after all that, at what expense? Right? What do you lose in order to gain that stature, to gain that persona, to gain the name of Logan Roy? And you lose what we see him losing is literally on his, whatever, like I said, 82nd, 83rd birthday. He has Connor, no disrespect to Connor, but he doesn't have his family there. Masha's off somewhere shopping forever. The kids are planning to plot against their dad. All those millions of dollars, billions of dollars, deals made, he doesn't have. What does it all accumulate to? You're coming home to nobody. And we see him having this conversation with Colin about, what do you think about death? What do you think about life after death, and more particularly? And when he said that, y'all, I'm thinking to myself, he knows his time is ticking. He knows his time on earth is numbered. And he knows he has to make amends with his family. So it's going to be really interesting to see Logan this season, him coming to grips with that reality, him coming to grips with not being the most present father, him coming to grips with not being the most pleasant person. It's going to be really interesting to see Mr. Logan in his final season, y'all. But Brian Cox, man, he's just such a great actor, man. Moving on to the kids. They have arrived. She was playing them like a little fiddle. I have a headache. Oh, she played those kids and played Logan at the same time. And she just throws a little nuclear bomb in the room. Oh, I'm getting a divorce anyway. And, kid. And, I love Rome's response. Oh, sucks when love doesn't work, whatever. But they were both caught off surprise. So I'm like, oh, so there it is. That's the first time we've heard the D word coming out of their mouths. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But again, the big thing within this scene here, kids, man, again, stepping up in this episode because we've seen them kind of fall back, kind of be nervous, kind of be scared, kind of fumble the bag. But we see them coming together and saying, listen, this is the truth of the matter. Our dad hates you. He's going to ruin your legacy. The years of that you've built, the wealth that you built, the legacy, the name you've built. He's going to destroy all that. He's going to take all your properties and throw them in the dirt, And then they throw out their numbers. They have the conversation. We're coming in at 8. Matter of fact, 8-5. And they're talking to Tellis, I believe was his name. And they're like, can we do 8? Can we do 8-5? And the number's going up. And we go from 9 to, they throw. And then Tom gets on the phone. Again, you see the nervousness of Logan, who never loses. He's get him, call your damn wife and figure out the number. They throw Shiv, again, smart on her part. She throws out, our ceiling's 12. Logan's on hold. He's like, oh, lighten up the room. Let's make some jokes. He has, he tries to get Carl to make a joke, and no one's making the man laugh. But leave it to Greg the egg to make him laugh. He doesn't make him laugh, but he tells him that you're an old man, you're mean, this, that, and the other. But then he also tells him, he cuts low, man. Greg cuts low. He tells him that he's alone. His kids aren't here. Where are your kids? Your kids are absent. And then Logan takes another shot at him and says, where's your dad? Is he doing something behind the park or something? So yeah, what is this? What is the deal with Greg's dad? Are we ever gonna find out? Because we've only met his mom. We obviously know his grandfather. But yeah, that's that good point. I like that information. I'm very curious if we're going to get more of him later in the season. But so the number gets up to definitively as Ken says, we got to do a conversation ender. And that number was 10. And again, I want you all to notice, and I don't know if this is something we should keep an eye out for as far as them working together, but then slowly growing apart maybe. Rome, he still, obviously he was on board, but he still was kind of apprehensive. Again, he wanted to start the company. He didn't really want to go all in on the Pierce family. He was kind of, he's a little brother, right? It's kind of peer pressure, and the little brother just has to agree with his older siblings. I'm very curious if we're going to see Rome venture off and do his own thing, because again, if my theory of Mr. Logan here not making it out the season, we might see the kids go their separate ways. All in all, the big thing within this moment, the kids win. Again, I ask you at home, when have we seen Logan lose? Never. But the fact that he lost to his kids is very telling. But more importantly, he loses in this moment. We end the episode, y'all, on a very, very somber, very telling scene. It was a moment, a scene that I wish was addressed. And I think this is one of many conversations between the two. And this is at the point at the back half of the episode. Shiv's heads home, Tom's home. But we get this moment as, again, she's very bothered. She was the one that wanted this entanglement. She wants this open marriage, but she's making fun of Tom and Greg's disgusting brothers. Greg or Tom's out here dating models. She's talking about, oh, do you have the models here? Do you have the models there? Or do they do? She's very, very jealous, y'all. It's very apparent. And listen, I love Shiv, but you got what you get. You got what you deserve. Again, I'll never forget season 1 when she told her husband on their wedding night that she wants an open marriage after the man agreed to marrying her. Come on now. And then she told, and I can't even forget last year, she told him, or season 3, she told him, oh, we don't really love each other, right? It's like, damn, Shiv, I love you, but god damn, you're cold and heartless as all hell. Anyway, we see Shiv was clearly bothered by this agreement. We see Tom brings up her decisions that she's made in this relationship. And ultimately, it was her decision to have this open marriage. But then she brings up the D word yet again. And by D, I'm referring to divorce. And we see that Tom is clearly upset about it. I think we saw Tom just say, you know what, Shiv, that's it. Acting in this scene. Shiv is I love Shiv, but she has the ego just as big as her father. Definitively, they are saying that this is over, that, hey, we gave it a go, right? Like marriage is just like something you check off of a box, right? Even though I'm sure that this divorce will be very ugly. Tom was upset, clearly. Shiv was upset, clearly. Man, let me know, man. Is this it? Is this it, man? Them holding hands, them throwing in a towel. Is it? Will we see them now being at odds, and we're going to see the real Tom, right? We're going to see the real get dirty, roll up the sleeves. We're going to see that version of him. Let me know in the comments, man. Is this the last of Shiv and Tom? Last scene is, of course, the man of the hour, and that is Mr. Logan. As he's watching the news, he's called Sid. To Sid, are you losing it? Was the question, right? But my question is, Logan, are you losing it? Right? You lost in this episode. You don't have your kids on your birthday. You lost a deal to your kids. Are you losing it, Logan? Again, ladies and gentlemen, are we seeing this man, this untouchable, godlike figure in this world of the succession? He's losing it. He's coming to his finish line. What happens when you die? We see Logan die by the end of the season. Let me know. Or will he end up on top as he always does? But that is my thoughts. That's my breakdown. I'm going to get to the questions here again for those that are watching. I appreciate you. If you enjoyed the discussion, thumbs up, share, leave your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed it, thumbs up. Let me know in the comments your thoughts and comments. But